Right there.
Good afternoon, everyone. The time is 2:06 p.m., Monday, December 15th, 2025. We are starting a few minutes late, but I'm going to now call this meeting to order of the Santa Clara County Human Trafficking Commission. Camille?
Okay, I'll go ahead and do roll call. Co-chairperson Young,
Here.
co-chairperson Rosen,
Here.
member Capps, absent. Oh, present, thank you. Co-chairperson Johnson.
Oh, Dolly, Undersheriff.
Okay, perfect. So member Rodriguez is present in his place. Thank you. Member Silver? Here. Thank you. Alternate Valeros? Here. Present, thank you. Member Burchard? Absent. Member Villa?
Here.
Present, thank you. Member Little? Absent. Member Cisneros Jones? Absent. Member Staff? Present, thank you. Member Lee? Absent. Member Oliver? Absent. Member Spears?
Present.
Present, thank you. Member Dwyer? Absent. Member Lagergren? Absent. Member Field? Absent. Member O'Brien? Absent. Okay, thank you. Member Flores is here as her alternate. Thank you. Member Silvertop? Present, thank you. Member Denoa? Present, thank you. Member Dwan?
Present.
Present, thank you. Member Candelas? Absent. Member Collins? Present, thank you. Member Gilmore?
Here.
Thank you. Member Park? Present, thank you. Member Green?
Present.
Thank you. Member Ganot? Absent. Member Moreno? Present, thank you. Member Arenas?
Here.
Present. And Member Yu? Okay, present. Thank you. And you have a quorum.
Wonderful. We have a quorum. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Human Trafficking Commission meeting. I serve as one of your co-chairs alongside District Attorney Jeff Rosen and Sheriff Bob Johnson, who is being represented by Undersheriff Dalia Rodriguez today. And Dalia, we are on counting down the days to your retirement. So I just want to thank you for your service to this county and to the public. And we're going to keep on thanking you every chance we see you. All right? Okay. Thank you. Just a reminder that the room is nice and cozy, but as you speak, to make sure to turn on your mic. That's how we ensure that the live feed picks up on your audio and the discussions of this meeting. At this time, the first item on the agenda is public comment. This item is reserved for persons who wish to address the committee on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the committee that is not on this agenda. The law does not permit committee action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. And any member of the public who wishes to address the committee on a non-agendized item should request to speak at this time by submitting a request to speak form if you are in chambers or by using the raise hand icon if attending virtually. I'm going to turn to Camille, our clerk, to see if there are any speakers for this item.
We have one hand raised in Zoom.
Okay, we're going to give them 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And as soon as the first speaker begins speaking, we will close the queue.
All right. So our speaker is Parent. Parent, you will have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I've been talking to you guys at several meetings that my kids are being sexually molested, and I've asked District Attorney Jeff Rosen to provide a referral to the Child Advocacy Center so they could get a screening. He has the mandate and he has the authority and he oversees the Child Advocacy Center, but he just completely refuses to do so. That's because my former attorney, Valerie Houghton, is involved in the sex trafficking of my kids. And now, because I've been so vocal about all this, she's through a social media post that she's directed me to view that if I don't shut up about the sexual abuse of my kids, that she'll kill my kids and she'll make shoes out of them, out of their skins. And I'm not kidding. You can't mistake her message in this social media post. And I forwarded this social media post directly to Jeff Rosen, telling him, please stop this. Provide a referral. Do something to protect my kids. Stop covering up the sexual abuse of my kids. And of course, he's silent. He's done nothing. He hasn't stopped Ms. Houghton. He hasn't stopped the sex trafficking of my kids. He hasn't stopped covering up the sexual abuse of my kids. And I tell you, this conduct by him, he's influencing the whole DA's office. He's influencing the whole county and being so callous about the child abuse. It's terrible what he's doing. I mean, the whole DA's office got a forward of this post. Everybody sees what he's doing to this county. He needs to be removed from office. I don't understand why we keep him around. We need to start proceedings to get him removed before he destroys this whole county. Please Google DA Jeff Rosen petition sex trafficking, all those strips together, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar and changes to the committee agenda. I'm turning to my co-chairs and members for any questions, changes, or discussions of changes to the agenda or consent calendar. Nope. Okay. So before we move to approve the consent calendar, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay. I invite a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar and agenda today. Move for approval. Moved by Member Dwan. Second by Under Sheriff Dahlia. Member Dahlia.
So I'll go and do a roll call vote, or?
Do you want? Are we allowed to do a at-large vote?
Good afternoon, Mary Hannah Weir, Lead Deputy County Counsel. Generally, we need to make sure that the record can reflect each individual member's votes. So it's sort of in the discretion of the chair, but if anybody were to abstain or to vote no, we might need to then go back and do the roll call. So it's in your discretion on that front. But since we don't have any members participating remotely, you could do what we call a choral vote, but then we need to make sure that every single person votes affirmatively or abstains or noes, if that makes sense.
Cool beans. We're going to do a roll call vote, just be on the safe side. Then we don't have to repeat ourselves. Does that sound good to you, everybody here? Go ahead, Camille.
Okay. Co-chairperson Young,
Yes.
co-chairperson Rosen,
Yes.
member Rodriguez, member Silver,
Yes.
member Villa,
Yes.
member Staff,
Yes.
member Spears,
Yes.
member Flores,
Yes.
member Silvertop, member Dawn,
Yes.
member Collins, member Gilmore,
Yes.
member Green,
Yes.
member Moreno, member Arenas,
Yes.
member Yu,
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. And almost everyone used their mic on that vote. So we're making progress here. Let's make sure we use the mic so that our live feed picks up on all of our decisions. Up next is item 4, and that is to receive report from the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking relating to comprehensive regional response to end human trafficking and safety for the Bay public information campaign, and forward to the Board of Supervisors for consideration.
Thank you. I'm Sharon Deneau. I direct the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking. I'm going to be speaking specifically about our regional efforts as it relates to the 2026 sporting events, and that is through our regional work group called No Traffic Ahead. We've spoken about this before, but just as a quick recap, No Traffic Ahead is it was specifically created for the 2016 Super Bowl, and so now we brought back that regional work group to focus on the 2026 sporting events. So when we're talking about the campaign that is being developed, Safety for the Bay, it is under the regional work group No Traffic Ahead. So the partners that you see listed here, it's a growing list. We're still getting formal kind of approvals from different agencies, but they're from all over the Bay Area. So we have representatives from Alameda County, Contra Costa, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Solano, Monterey, San Benito, San Francisco. We have a number of partners who, they have a regional focus as well, so they cover multiple counties. But you can see some of the agencies here. So No Traffic Ahead has been meeting monthly now since at least August, and we had been having kind of sporadic meetings prior to that. Within No Traffic Ahead, we came up with the concept of Safety for the Bay, but I wanted to flag what we know now, because on December 5th, we got the confirmation of what games we will be seeing here for the World Cup. Hopefully I got this right, but these are the games that we're expecting to come, as well as the countries. I'm flagging this because it's going to be very important for language access, as we're trying to make sure that people can get the help that they need if something were to happen while they're visiting our community. So the big thing about the World Cup that kind of shifted how we are approaching the events for next year is that FIFA has required a human rights strategy. So the coalition, we focus on human trafficking, but again, I want to emphasize that because of the FIFA requirement, we're focusing more broadly on human rights strategy, and that's because this is a component of us being a host city. What that means, what the challenge is for us here in the Bay Area is we need to have a strategy that really focuses on the larger Bay Area and comprehensively addresses human rights violations. So our main proposal that we've spoken about in previous meetings, but I'll dive into a little bit more here today, is a community-driven resource navigator. The Bay Area is unique because of our 9 counties are so closely tied to each other. We know there will be a significant number of events in Oakland, a lot of events happening in San Francisco. So we really need to have continuity of access to different resources and make it easy for folks. This is just a flag that within No Traffic Ahead, these are our overarching goals, and these goals also relate to safety for the Bay. So you can see when we talk about collective impact, the idea is that we want to be able to help scale out any efforts that are useful and helpful. So if one county is able to bring one thing to the table, can we scale it out for other counties? So we're sharing resources. Rather than being in competition with each other, it's far better for us at the end of next year, end of the summer, for us to come back and say, as a whole, collectively, this is how many survivors of human trafficking receive services versus by agency. Law enforcement already does this. They already collectively provide their stats, but that's one of our main goals. We want the consistent messaging that we flagged before. We want to be able to maximize our resources, and we want long-term sustainability, which means whatever we're developing for next year should be for the benefit for our larger community and be sustainable. And so one thing I do want to flag is that we really are taking a local first approach. What does that mean? We really want people who are in the area, community members or visitors, to be able to connect with local resources as quickly as possible. There are definitely national hotlines for a variety of different safety violations, but what we know is that especially given a lot of, I think, uncertainties at the moment, it's going to be far more beneficial to be able to provide very quick access to local services. So that's one of our primary goals. So when we talk about human rights, the approach that we took, because we're a human trafficking coalition, but we wanted to expand out, is we identified 16 different safety violations. And when you think about human rights, essentially you're thinking about issues of safety and freedom. And so these are different safety violations that somebody may suffer at any time, but we certainly want to be able to provide people quick access to help that is needed anywhere in the region, anywhere in the 9-county region. So you can see kind of in the left-hand side, domestic violence, human trafficking, sexual exploitation, sexual assault, wage theft, or retaliation. Those are the kind of areas that we typically talk about in this forum, but I also want to flag that there are additional intersections that child abuse, elder abuse, mental health, substance use, housing insecurity, immigration protection. And then there are safety violations that are not in our wheelhouse, but we want to make sure that people still know how to get help for these things if they should happen. So something like terrorism, obviously community-based organizations, that's not what we focus on. So information that you would find there would be related to law enforcement agencies. State violence, so there is a potential for protest, there's potential for state violence being enacted by different law enforcement agencies. That potential is there. We want people to know how to get resources if they need it. Other violence like assaults, hate crimes, cyber crimes. So you can see this is a much broader scope than what we typically talk about here, but we want to make sure, again, that we are providing an easy access resource to any number of safety violations. So this is what our website's going to look like. Yay! We have been working with a nonprofit in Fresno that has been developing this. It is not live yet. We're hoping for it to be live in January. There's been a lot of work being done to pull down what are all the resources for all of those 16 safety violations across the Bay Area. So this is what it's going to look like, Safety for the Bay. I want to flag that it is purposely very colorful and very non-governmental, and that's because we really want this to be a community resource. We want people to know that this is a community resource. And so as you scroll down on the main page, you'll start to see those safety violations that we mentioned. You see a snapshot here, but there's a number, there's 16 that will be listed here. On that same page, you'll see how to report, and these are with our law enforcement partners, so just direct links to law enforcement agencies that are here locally. Now, if you click on one of the safety violations, for example, if you click on sexual assault, what will come up is this. You'll see a really quick, brief overview of what sexual assault is, what a victim might be experiencing if they suffer sexual assault, what resources and support are available. And here's where you see the regional component, because when you click on Santa Clara County, the two agencies that will be listed there are the two sexual assault service providers in our county, Community Solutions and the YWCA, but we'll have that for all counties. And if there is a national hotline, that will be included there too. There's an escape button, which you see with a lot of service provider websites as well, but I do want to flag that. The other thing you'll find is on the sexual assault page, as you'll see similarly with all the safety violations, is if there are rights attached, then we'll list those rights. So people will know as a survivor of sexual assault what different rights you might have. And the way that we're going to be distributing information about Safety for the Bay, this community resource navigator, we have a few different mechanisms, but one is going to be the billboard campaign, which we showcased at the last meeting. We've been working to get them translated, and we're working to get different specifications to fit in different formats, and I'll talk about the different partners we have for that. But these are the core languages that we typically translate into in our county. And I should flag, these have not been double checked. So if you're seeing something that is not correct in another language, please let me know after the presentation. But we're working on getting them done. So these are just drafts. What are our next steps? So current placements for the campaign is going to be, we do have a commitment from Solano County, which is great. They have a transit system out there. So we're primarily focusing on transit systems, and that's for a few reasons. One is it's kind of more bang for your buck. It's also because we really want, a lot of our images relate to labor exploitation, and we really want riders who are on public transportation to have that information. The other, Santa Clara VTA, they've also made a commitment to put these up. For the VTA images, we're going to include a link to VTA alerts as well so that riders can directly report anything that they might be seeing. And then we're working on Alameda County Transit with AC Transit. The other placements that we're looking for, and this is where we need a lot of help with partnership, is of course additional transit agencies, but also different transit spots. So I think depending on the county, some counties actually own the bus stops placements where we could put up campaign posters. Public bathrooms are going to be a really easy one, where if we don't want to put up a full poster in the bathroom stall like you might see at San Jose Airport, that you could put at least a sticker with a QR code on the mirror, and that might be really helpful for if somebody's trying to figure out what help they need for something that may have happened. Libraries are also a really great place, and again, we'd probably target bathrooms, but other public spaces that the library feels is appropriate. Convenience stores, I'll be talking about it later today, different partnerships, but there is an organization that's going to be doing outreach to convenience stores, as well as another group that's doing outreach to hotels. So that's why we're targeting those industries specifically, but again, we need more support on that. So for the Safety for the Bay, as well as these posters, the main costs associated have been with design, translation, and placements. And so we've been crowdsourcing funding, so we have some private funding committed, but we are seeking $8,000 from the county, Santa Clara County, to assist with translation and the design costs. I didn't include placement, but it would also be helpful, but I think the county has a lot of free placement options. They just have to commit those placement options. So I don't want to include that in the potential cost, but for example, you know, we started putting up posters in some of the City of San Jose public bathrooms under Councilmember Dewan, and so we can expand on that in the county as well, any county bathrooms, or if there are other places where we think a lot of people will be passing through, we can put up information. And I think that is it.
Thank you, Sharon, for that presentation. I'm going to turn to Camille first to see if there are any members of the public who wish to comment on this item, and then we'll go into commission discussion.
We do have one hand raised on Zoom.
Great, we're going to give them 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. Okay, our speaker is Parent. Parent, you'll have 1 minute to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, there seems to be a lot of great information in this presentation that is going to be disseminated to the public. But I think that in the current state of this county that we really should also present information to discourage families and particularly children from traveling to Santa Clara County for these events. I know it generates a lot of money and all that, and it's great for the economy. But given the state of this county, I don't think it's safe for the families and children to be traveling here. I mean, one of those safety violations that I've been talking about that we have a problem with is violence. Like, I have visible injuries because my children are being sex trafficked. And I've sent these pictures out to various members of the county, and the violence against my children is not being taken seriously. The sex trafficking of my children is not being, nothing is being taken seriously. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, and I turn to the members of the commission and co-chairs for discussion or questions for our presenter. Member Dwan?
Thank you, Councilmember Dewan with the City of San Jose. Sharon, I know that you're looking for funding about $8,000 to complete out the project. How's that come along?
So we're crowdsourcing funding. So we have secured about $14,000 in private funding, and I'm awaiting additional confirmation for funding, which would help quite a bit. So I won't put the number on that until that's secured. Another $5,000 from Solano County. So our approach has been the counties that are more greatly impacted, we're asking for $8,000, and then for additional counties or jurisdictions, it would be $5,000. So I have been seeking $8,000 also from City of San Jose. And I don't know how to describe where in the process that is, but that's something we're also advocating for.
Okay, I'll reach out to our city manager office and we'll make sure you get that $8,000.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Gilmore?
Thank you very much. I had a similar type question. I want to make sure that the City of Santa Clara is involved in this and that we're part of the program, because I can think of so many places where we can put this information, especially as we get the influx of people coming in 2026. in our stadium, in our convention center, in our public areas. So also, I will ask if we can also participate financially so that we can get a package and be available, have that available. It's really important in our community that there are many of our members talking about this and the fear that's coming for next year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I should also flag that I did communicate with Santa Clara Police Captain Fitting, and so I do know that we've seen a lot of support from law enforcement agencies directly as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any more discussion or questions from the commission? Awesome. I'm going to offer that a recommendation that this commission formally votes to adopt the Safety for the Bay campaign as the Human Trafficking Commission's preferred local public resource campaign, and that will be included as a part of the set of recommendations to report out to the full board for full adoption. I think once we are able to formally adopt as a body, then that positions the crowdsourcing with our imprimatur and stamp of approval on it. How does that sound to the commission? Okay, so I'll go ahead and look to my commission members if anybody would like to make the motion. Mayor Gilmore?
Move approval of that recommendation.
Great.
Second.
Oh,
Second.
okay. I heard you first. Thank you. Thank you, member. All right, so we're going to go to, I see our county council leaning into the mic.
I was just asking for a clarification as to what precisely the motion was, Supervisor. I don't think I fully understood it. I wanted to make sure that we're not putting the cart before the horse.
Totally got it.
inadvertently.
And I'm surprised we haven't mind melded yet.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, all right. So motion that I was inviting is a motion for the Human Trafficking Commission to formally adopt the Safety for the Bay campaign as our singular endorsed localized campaign for 2026.
So I think as we spoke about last meeting, I think we actually have to ask the Board of Supervisors to provide you all with that authority. And I don't
Oh,
know-
so let me clarify help me word this motion.
Oh, to make the recommendation?
Yeah,
It's a
to make the-
recommendation only.
So I think you actually made that motion last month, and we just haven't, at the last meeting, and we just haven't quite gotten there yet. You would, I believe, Camille, can we look at the meeting minutes from our last meeting? But I think you may actually have already done this part,
We have already
Supervisor.
adopted the,
No, we've already suggested to make the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to provide you all with the authority to adopt. But
so
we
let's
haven't gotten-
continue on that
yes.
track, but I think let's cut to the quick for this campaign. It is the recommendation of this commission that the Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the county, adopt the Safety for the Bay campaign.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
That's my motion. Thank you.
So moved, there. And then seconded? Still seconded? Yes.
And I do want to ask as well if you'd like to move the recommended action regarding forwarding the report to the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Roll call vote?
Okay, thank you. Co-Chairperson Young?
Yes.
Co-Chairperson Rosen? Yes. Member Rodriguez? Yes. Member Silver?
Yes.
Member Villa?
Yes.
Member Staff?
Yes.
Member Spears?
Yes.
Member Flores?
Yes.
Member Silvertop?
Yes.
Member Dwan?
Yes.
Member Collins? Okay, yes, thank you. Member Gilmore?
Yes.
Member Green?
Yes.
Member Moreno?
Yes.
Member Arenas?
Yes.
Member Yu?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Great, wonderful. And Sharon, just thank you to you and the team at the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking for walking this commission throughout this year as you developed the Safety for the Bay campaign and keeping us included in real time on the discussions. So lots of work to move this forward, to actualize it. And I just want to thank my commission members, our commission members today for being so proactive and making sure this campaign moves forward and is effective. Thank you. All right, item 5 now. Item 5 is to consider recommendations from stakeholders relating to human trafficking. This report comes in, let's see here, in 2 parts. Part 5A is receive report from the Office of the District Attorney relating to preparation and staffing needs for upcoming large-scale sporting events, with Part 5B is receive report from the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention, Office of the County Executive relating to county efforts to address human trafficking. And I'm correcting myself in real time. Part C, it comes in 3 parts. Part C is to receive report from the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking relating to regional coordination and outreach efforts. In the past, we heard all 3 presentations and then launched into a discussion at the end. If there is no feedback, or if there's no other, if members of the commission agree, we could still pursue that approach this time. Or if you would like to have discussion after each presentation, where we could I'm okay with doing that too. Okay, I see and hear no dissent or discussion. So we're going to go through all 3 presentations and then go to public comment and then end to discussion and potential action. Okay, you're up.
All right, good afternoon. This is Josh Singleton. I'm a lieutenant with the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office, Bureau of Investigation. I'll be providing a report on behalf of the District Attorney's Office and the Human Trafficking Task Force. I'll start with the request for the analysis on the overtime gap. With Super Bowl and FIFA World Cup coming, there's going to be an extensive amount of work hours placed on law enforcement to combat trafficking in our community. So the first request is a request for overtime for the county's law enforcement officers that are working in this task force. For Super Bowl specifically, we're requesting $27,456 in overtime. And that's based on the following analysis. That's an average overtime rate of about $156 an hour, with 6 full-time county employees, sworn law enforcement employees that are assigned to the task force doing this work full-time. 5 of them from the DA's office, Bureau of Investigations, and 1 of them is a Santa Clara County Sheriff's detective. In addition to that, we'll be asking to TDY, or temporarily assign, 5 DA investigators from our Bureau of Investigation to assist us during the Super Bowl operational window, which will be from January 25th to February 7th. The full-time investigators working on this task force will be, conducting their regular work week, their 40-hour work week, but we anticipate about, that's only approximating 8 hours of overtime, or 1 shift of overtime per each of those operational weeks. These investigations are extremely taxing on our staff, and so it just can't be done without overtime. So we will be making that request. That kind of leads into the Human Trafficking Operations Center and discussing that really briefly. So that operational window, as I said, will be January 25th to February 7th. We're standing up an operations center that will be located in the city of Sunnyvale, nearby the main Super Bowl kind of command post, but separate. It'll be specific to just law enforcement. That operations center will house both uniformed and plainclothes law enforcement from local, state, federal law enforcement agencies, as well as analysts, system analysts from the District Attorney's Office CSU unit, other local law enforcement analysts, analysts from FBI, Department of State, HSI, NICRIC, which is a fusion center here in Northern California, as well as some private partner analysts and analysts from NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who will also be present. It will also be a space for our advocates and legal service providers to access and to be on site, as well as our prosecutors and a media team to have a united media message as it relates to human trafficking. We've been busy rolling out trainings throughout this entire year. I think we've hit every local law enforcement agency to provide trainings on the updated human trafficking guidelines that were adopted by the County of Santa Clara. It's a very comprehensive guidelines training. We're trying to train our local officers on red flags reporting procedures. We've also hosted a number of regional trainings in conjunction with the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking at the Safety in Motion conference. We also hosted training for some private partners, nonprofits that'll be here operating for Super Bowl events. In Our Backyard is one of them. It's a group that train civilians to work alongside law enforcement to combat and identify trafficking and pass those leads on to law enforcement. So they will also be present at the Operations Center. And then lastly, this is just kind of unrelated, but also a plug, just some of the work we've discussed in the past about the Illicit Massage Business Coalition that we've presented to at this commission, and how that group has come together to really combat trafficking in our communities, evident by an investigation maybe some of you have seen recently on the news called Operation Family Ties, where this illicit massage business coalition that pulls together law enforcement, code enforcement, city attorneys' offices, our community prosecutors, and our criminal prosecutors from the district attorney's office to combat trafficking in a very comprehensive approach. That investigation resulted in the arrest of 5 individuals, the identification of about 40 commercial sex workers, leading to the recovery of 18 of them on the takedown day, and the seizure of about $1.3 million in assets that were derived from illicit activity. That number continues to grow. We'll be taking that coalition to the next step through a landlord engagement program that we're piloting with the City of San Jose and the City of Morgan Hill, and to hold landlords accountable when there is illicit activity occurring in their brick and mortar businesses. That's my report.
Thank you so much for that, and congratulations on the very successful operation. I saw it on the news. I've heard from our stakeholders that it's a significant win for the district attorney's office and for our fight against human trafficking, and survivors are now connected to care. So thank you and congratulations on that. And now we will move on to our second presentation, and that is receive report from the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention, Office of the County Executive, relating to county efforts to address human trafficking.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Young and members of the committee. Hello. Casey Halkin, Deputy County Executive, and I will be presenting the update on county efforts to address human trafficking. So today I'm going to update the Commission on 3 items. First, I'm going to summarize the overall landscape of county funding as it relates to support for human trafficking survivors. I will then talk about the impact of state and federal funding cuts to various services, which will impact our survivors. And lastly, I'm going to discuss the county efforts as they relate to upcoming sporting events. So as many of you know, the county supports human trafficking survivors, including survivors of sex and labor trafficking, largely through contracts with our local community-based organizations that serve these survivors, and many of them, of course, are represented here on the commission. The County of Santa Clara makes a significant investment in gender-based violence, allocating nearly $20 million a year to support community-based organizations that serve survivors of all types of gender-based violence. And this includes the $13.7 million that is administered through the Office of Gender-Based Violence and Prevention. Of that $13.7 million, over $10 million in services could be utilized for labor or trafficking survivors, either explicitly, like contracts with the YWCA, ACCI, and Community Solutions, which include funding for human trafficking advocates, or potentially, like our Rape Crisis Center services that a sex trafficking survivor might utilize. $900,000 of these funds is dedicated specifically to legal services, which could be used for survivors of human trafficking for full scope or full service legal representation and other legal services. And a little less than $140,000 is reserved specifically for consulting, for human trafficking trainings, for public employees, community-based organizations, and of course for the general public to help raise awareness and prevention. In addition to the legal services contracts with the Office of Gender-Based Violence and Prevention, we of course have contracts through the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, and they have 4 contracts that primarily support labor trafficking services totaling nearly $2 million. And these services include community engagement and training services focused on labor law awareness and compliance, legal advice and case management services, and information referrals to workers about workplace rights. In addition to the county funding, many of our local providers, of course, also rely on state and federal funding. And unfortunately, as many of you know, there have been recent challenges to the availability and sustainability of this funding, which are greatly impacting our local providers and, of course, the survivors themselves. So this year, prior to the passage of Federal Bill H.R. 1, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, there was already more than $106 million funding reduction at the federal level to the Victims of Crime Act, which we typically refer to as the VOCA funding. This year, the state was able to bring temporary relief by backfilling those reductions with one-time funds. However, a permanent solution to create a stable, ongoing funding stream for gender-based violence services has not yet been resolved. I know many of us, myself included, have been actively engaged in some of the advocacy efforts related to increasing this with the leadership of the District Attorney's Office, Victim Services, Community Solutions, ACCI, and many others. But it has certainly been an uphill battle with the state for many years. The Office of Gender-Based Violence and Prevention, which is a program of the Division of Equity and Social Justice, as many of you know, and other parties, again, like the DA's Office, Victim Services Unit, and our community-based organizations. We're working very closely with our intergovernmental relations team here in the county to try to lift up our advocacy efforts to create dedicated and permanent funding for these vital services. The most we've been able to cobble together, frankly, has been these one-time funding on a year-to-year basis, but no permanent funding solution has been identified. So at the federal level, the Trump administration has substantially reduced or eliminated several critical funding streams as they relate to victims of gender-based violence. This includes a 38% reduction to the Office of Violence Against Women, a federal freeze, indefinite suspension of Family Violence Prevention and Services Act, in addition to the VOCA funding that we previously mentioned. These cuts directly impact core direct services for crisis intervention, including our 24-hour hotline services, emergency shelter, medical care, and legal aid. Furthermore, H.R. 1 now disqualifies immigrant survivors of gender-based violence who were lawfully present, like those already with or those in the process of applying for refugee or asylum status, from newly enrolling in Medicare and CalFresh, and ends coverage for those already enrolled. H.R. 1 will place additional burdens on some of the most vulnerable in our community, which often include our survivors of gender-based violence. Lastly, I wanted to dovetail some of the comments from Investigator Singleton and also from Sharon and the South Bay Coalition to talk about the county efforts to prepare for and to prevent incidents of human trafficking at our upcoming major sporting events. We are, of course, hosting the Super Bowl, some March Madness games, and of course, some FIFA World Cup games as well. And the County Office of Emergency Management, Administration, Office of the District Attorney, and the Santa Clara County Human Trafficking Task Force are working alongside our community-based partners to prepare for the games, and of course, the possibility of increased human trafficking that unfortunately results, which many of us worked on when we had the Super Bowl here a few years ago. So specifically, of course, we're partnering together on the No Traffic Ahead, which it sounds like we will be moving towards the board for our preferred campaign. Of note, I think, given the request for additional funding, there's been some discussion about some of the funding that was made available to local governments, to the county, and to the cities as it relates to FIFA World Cup in particular, as there is such a large public safety risk. There was not specific money within those grants set aside for human trafficking, but our county IGR team and administration and OEM have been working very closely with the Bay Area Host Committee, and really also led by Senator Aisha Wahab to push forward efforts to allocate specific funding for human trafficking efforts. So we are in the process of making those requests. We don't have any updates yet, but certainly we can update the commission or interested parties when we receive those updates. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Casey. I'm going to turn now to our third presentation, and that's to receive report from the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking relating to regional coordination and outreach efforts. Sharon?
I'm back. So I'm Sharon. I'm still the director of the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, but I'm also joined by Carolyn Glessman with Evident Change, who's going to be providing the overview of the community assessment. But I'll provide just an overview again or updates regarding our sporting event preparation and what partnerships looking like and how we're building capacity across the region. And then I'll hand it over to Caroline to talk about the community assessment. That's who we are. So again, the way that No Traffic Ahead is set up is we have a general meeting, but we also have different committees that are doing preparation work. So Voices is with the advocacy group. That's the group that's really highlighting where they're They're working on creating connections across the region so that service provision is available, and that's being driven by Community Solutions, who've already embodied the in-person response, multi-victim operations. They're also highlighting where there are gaps, and that includes what we discussed at the last commission meeting, where they're anticipating gaps in being able to provide 24/7 response across the region, as well as potential housing gaps. The Anti-Trafficking Law Enforcement Leadership Council is headed by Lieutenant Singleton, and that's the regional law enforcement component. I'm going to be providing most of the updates through our Community and Business Outreach Committee, where we're focusing a lot on the safety for the Bay and some other components. But we're also looking at safe working environments, and that's really looking at whether or not we can get an ordinance passed on supply chains and sustainability and best practices. And the quick update there is that we're working with Kezban Yogshi from San Jose State on a grant that's looking at transit, and that research is going to be happening in the Super Bowl, which will be really interesting, looking at human trafficking at transit. These, again, are our overview of kind of our key areas of focus in terms of projected outputs. The in-person advocate response I mentioned, billboards relates to safety for the Bay, and then, some of the core areas where we've seen vulnerabilities, like in the gig economy and vendors. Missing youth as well is something that's usually a big focus for the events, and so we're working on that in a few different ways, as well as really focusing on hospitality industry. In terms of what we've been accomplishing since the last commission meeting, actually a lot has happened. We conducted high-risk hotel outreach with the Santa Clara County Human Trafficking Task Force and the Coalition. That was really helpful because we were able to directly engage with hotels that are in areas that are high risk for trafficking or known to have potential cases coming out of there. We were really encouraging them to attend our Safety in Motion conference, which was very successful, and that was on October 29th. A lot of you were there. Thank you. And that day was really unique. It was a very unique kind of first of its kind conference because it really prioritized, through our host sponsor, VTA, transit agencies. And so I just want to flag that at that conference, we had about 260 attendees. We had transit agencies from all over the country, from Florida, Utah, we had Chicago, San Diego. We also had a lot of local agencies like BART, Samtrans, San Joaquin County Rail, as well as VTA, of course, because they were a host sponsor. So we had a focus on workshops focused on hospitality industry. We had workshops focused on law enforcement, on advocacy, and on transit. And so it was, I'd say, widely successful because we really brought in a lot of partners who've not been trained on human trafficking before and really engaged them. And there's been follow-up conversations with a lot of the groups, which has been great. The other update, happy to report that San Jose Airport, and this came through San Jose Police Department, helped facilitate this as well. The airport has adopted a training through the organization Freedom Insight. And so that's going to be really groundbreaking because it's going to be providing all badge staff at San Jose Airport with complete training on human trafficking. So that's a really big win in terms of just capacity building and preparation. We're working to make sure that information is being provided. So we already have posters up in the bathrooms. We're trying to update those posters so they direct you to safety for the Bay. So that's a great update there. Upcoming project partnerships, we're really starting to focus, with hospitality, we're now focusing on homestays. So people who may be renting out their home, making sure that they have information that they can provide to people who are in their home, and also tools they can use if they identify something that appears to be risky or maybe indicative of trafficking. We're really looking at the intersection of immigration. So really looking at how are we partnering with Rapid Response Network and IPEN, such that when we have a lot of individuals here next year, if there are people who are visiting and they do need some kind of support as it relates to immigration, how are we going to facilitate that? We're also starting conversations with some of the embassies. I mentioned before that we're working a lot more with Solano County, and that includes their SART team as well as Vallejo Police Department. Both of those groups also attended the conference, so we're really looking at capacity building and awareness raising there. Similarly, Alameda County District Attorney, who also spoke at the conference, we've been having discussions about how to ensure that they have some volunteer groups who are very interested in hotel outreach. So through No Traffic Ahead, we're providing the materials and kind of infrastructure so that they can do training in Alameda County, which is really one of our core partners as we talk about human trafficking. The SOAP Project is a group that's coming out from Ohio. They provide little soaps for hotels that have the human trafficking hotline number on there. So we're partnering with them to kind of scale out efforts. Any hotel outreach will include those soaps. And a lot of the hotels so far have actually been very open to it and have asked if we can put the stickers on their soaps that they already have, which is great. Lieutenant Singleton mentioned In Our Backyard. That's an Oregon-based organization that does a few different things. They do civilian enforcement, which is really helpful for law enforcement, but they also do outreach specifically to convenience stores. And those are a business that we typically do not kind of target for outreach, but they'll be very helpful. What it's going to look like is it's going to include booklets that have pictures of missing youth from around the region provided by NCMEC, as well as information about safety for the Bay and about human trafficking. So that's a really great partnership for No Traffic Ahead. I should also mention that those booklets are also something that we're sharing with a lot of the hospitality partners that we pulled in for the conference. So I didn't put that there formally as a partnership, but that is something we're going to be scaling out. And then the last piece is that we're starting to explore potential art projects. We know that when a lot of people are coming to visit the area, it's a really great opportunity to share the message about something difficult like trafficking or exploitation through art. And there's a number of really great projects out there. So we're trying to find a venue for that and kind of different groups that might be interested in sponsoring an art project. And with that, I'll just mention, so the community assessment was something that was through the OVC grant that the Human Trafficking Task Force had obtained with Community Solutions. It was a deliverable that was listed as part of that grant, and we really wanted to maximize the impact of what that community assessment is. What it really is looking at is where do we have vulnerabilities in our community that might relate to trafficking or exploitation. We already have our annual report. We wanted to take the next step beyond that. And so the purpose really was to look more broadly at our community, at what data we have, to see where else we can target outreach efforts. So Caroline is going to share some of the results, but essentially this is the overview of the assessment, which is included as an attachment for the board. Or for the commission. And so we have the scope of the assessment, the data set, which was provided by the Office of the District Attorney, publicly available data sets and different reports. There are some limitations, and I'll just flag that because this report is through the OVC, that means we were submitting a report to the federal government, and then we had some concerns about some components of data that we didn't want as part of that report for certain communities that are being targeted specifically. I think I can say that. I did. So Caroline will provide an overview of results. We'll talk about opportunities for development and then initial recommendations.
All right. Thanks, Sharon. So I'm Caroline Glessman. I'm a senior researcher with Evident Change. We're a nonprofit research organization in Oakland. And like Sharon said, today we'll cover some local data points in these areas and talk about how they relate to vulnerability to trafficking. So we'll start with some state and local trends related to trafficking. We'll look at, as Sharon mentioned, an analysis of the data provided by the DA's office, crimes related to human trafficking, youth trends in areas like mental health, victimization, and delinquency, and then we'll wrap up with some information about household income, poverty, and cost of living. So to start with the statewide trends, and this data is provided by the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So at the state level, there were just over 6,000 reports of trafficking from California between 2020 and 2024. Sex trafficking was the most reported type of trafficking. While reported less than sex trafficking, labor trafficking cases did double between 2022 and 2024. There was also a large increase in reported victims from about 2,000 in 2023 to 3,600 in 2024. Also, while most requests for response on trafficking cases that came into the hotline were related to adult victims, there was also an overall increase in the number of minor victims. So looking still at statewide trends for the hotline, this slide provides an overview of the types of cases reported. So sex trafficking was the most reported type of trafficking across all years, followed by labor trafficking and a growing number of combined sex and labor trafficking cases. And wrapping up the state level hotline data, this slide provides the most common locations for sex trafficking. The top locations were illicit massage, residence-based commercial sex, hotels, motels, and street-based trafficking. And it's not in the slide, but for the most common venues for labor trafficking cases in the state that came into the hotline, those were for domestic work, agriculture, restaurants, and illicit activities. So now we will turn to some county level trends. Again, from the hotline, this is a slightly different time period. It's for 2019 to 2022. So during that time, we see there were 171 trafficking situations, 291 likely victims reported in the county. Similar to state trends, most victims were connected to sex trafficking cases. Young people made up a significant portion of victims, representing about 20% of victims in 2019 and 25% in 2022. In terms of location in the county, the top 3 most common venues for trafficking reports in the county were escort services, residential-based commercial sex, and illicit massage, health, and beauty business. So just wrapping up the state and county trends, we see that the trends are similar at the state and county levels. For example, there are more reports of sex trafficking than labor trafficking. In general, each type of trafficking has seen an overall increase in reporting over the years, and this could be due to factors like increases in trafficking, increased awareness of trafficking and the national hotline number, or it could be due to other factors. And just a note about labor trafficking, underreporting of labor trafficking cases can be due to limited public awareness regarding indicators of labor trafficking. Also, as I'm sure you know, labor trafficking requires considerable time to identify because most industries that involve it operate outside the public view. So now we'll move on to the crime statistics. These were in the data set provided by the District Attorney's Office, which we were grateful to receive. And the crime statistics can provide information on areas and populations that are vulnerable to trafficking. So to get a better perspective on where trafficking might be happening in the county, it's important to look beyond investigations of trafficking and look at intersectional crimes such as domestic violence and sexual assault. We also wanted to look at crimes that often happen in conjunction with trafficking, so things like false imprisonment and assault. We also looked at locations by zip code and at demographic data for victims and defendants. So starting with the type of offense, the most common offense that we saw in the data were for domestic violence and criminal threats, representing about 2/3 of all offenses. And we'll look more at offenses on the next slide. For location of offense, these occurred in a total of 78 zip codes, and 61 of them were located in Santa Clara County. Of the zip codes in the county, over half of the offenses were in San Jose, followed by Gilroy, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, Milpitas, Morgan Hill, and Campbell. And then this table is a little small, but it does show the most common offenses. So again, domestic violence, criminal threats, and false imprisonment made up the most common offenses in this data set. Now we have a look at demographics. So victim demographics, 70% of victims were female, 27% were male. The average age of all victims was 34. In terms of age group, The main age groups were age 27 to 40 and age 41 to 60. Also want to note that a third of victims were age 26 or younger. Regarding race and ethnicity, 45% of victims identified as Hispanic, followed by white, Asian, and Black. I also want to note that race and ethnicity data was missing for 23% of victims. Now we have the demographics for defendants. Defendants were 87% male. Average age was 35. The main age groups represented were age 27 to 40 and 41 to 60. And 1/4 of defendants are age 26 and younger. And in terms of race ethnicity, 58% of defendants identified as Hispanic, followed by white, Black, and Asian. So the data we shared here about the crime statistics, common zip codes, and the victim and defendant demographics, this data can help inform outreach efforts, it can help ensure provision of culturally responsive services, and it can identify potential community gaps. So we'll move on now to youth trends, and the information on this slide is from the California Healthy Kids Survey. And that is a survey that is administered in schools. It provides information on a wide range of topics, including risk behaviors and mental health. The most recent survey at the time of the assessment was administered from 2021 to 2023, with results published in 2024. And in all, over 23,000 Santa Clara County students in grades 7, 9, and 11, as well as students from continuation schools and other alternative school types, responded to the survey. So we pulled out stats from 2 areas here, mental health status and experiences of victimization. Regarding mental health, about 1/3 of students reported experiencing chronic feelings of sadness, 28% reported social emotional distress, and notably 16% had seriously considered attempting suicide in the past 12 months. Experience of victimization, 1/4 of students reported experience harassment or bullying in the past 12 months. 16% had reported experiencing cyberbullying. So why is this data important? We know that youth are vulnerable to trafficking, and factors like diminished mental health add to their existing vulnerabilities that can be manipulated by traffickers. So we see that 1/3 of students reported chronic feelings of sadness, 16% reported considering suicide in the past 12 months, and taken together, these factors represent significant vulnerabilities for our youth population. Other data points we wanted to share regarding youth today were probation data. This information is from the probation department and provides information about the juvenile probation population for each calendar year. And this is important to take a look at because youth who've been involved in systems like the child welfare system, like the juvenile justice system, are vulnerable to exploitation for various reasons. In particular, youth involved in the juvenile justice system, another thing to note is they may have a harder time integrating into school or finding a job compared to system-involved youth, non-system involved youth. So the data we're seeing here, it shows that from 2019 to 2024, the highest number of juvenile misdemeanor arrests as well as felony arrests were in 2019, and that was followed by 2024. So the highest number in 2019, and then the second highest number in 2024. All right, so then to wrap up the data we wanted to share today, we wanted to look at household income and the cost of living. Socioeconomic factors, including household income, cost of living, and poverty, all relate to one of the main root vulnerabilities to trafficking, which is financial risk. The less economic mobility and security a person has, the more likely they are to take risks for survival, which traffickers will exploit. The median household income in the county is just under $155,000, and this income varies widely by race and ethnicity, ranging from about $84,000 for Black families to $202,000 for Asian families. The 2025 federal poverty level is just over 32,000 for a family of 4. And we know from census data that about 1 in 12 residents in the county live in poverty. Something we also wanted to share is the real cost measure of California, and this was developed by the United Ways of California in order to provide a more realistic assessment of household income required to meet basic needs in the state. The real cost measure is tailored to neighborhood level characteristics, and it calculates costs for essential needs like housing, food, transportation, and childcare. So using this measure, the United Way calculated that the real cost measure for a family of 4 living in the county is about $145,000. It's notable that about 145,000 households in the county live below this estimated income, despite 98% of these households having at least one working adult. And this just provides a little bit more data about this real cost measure. It breaks it out for the county by race and ethnicity. So from here, we see that about half of Latino households and 1/3 of African American households live below this threshold, which is pretty substantial. So that wraps up the data overview we wanted to share. Again, there are many other topics that were covered in the assessment. These were just a few that we wanted to pull out for today. And then some of the ones that we looked at in the assessment that we did not talk about today, which we feel could benefit from additional research, are noted here, related to the disability community, transportation, as well as dual status youth, so youth who are involved in both the child welfare and the probation systems. And I'll turn it back to Sharon.
And just what I flagged earlier is that our hope with the community assessment is that we would republish it with a more expanded version that would include more marginalized groups, that was not submitted as part of a federal report, but it would be more, it would be a local friendly version. It would be really for our local advocacy efforts. So that's hopefully the next step with this.
All right, we will now turn to public comment. Camille, are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this item?
We do have one hand raised on Zoom.
Right, we've been doing 1 minute for public comments on agenda items, so we'll provide 1 minute for the speaker.
Okay, thank you. Our speaker is Parent. Parent, you will have 1 minute to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for highlighting the vulnerability of our youth. My own children are being sex trafficked. My ex-wife was letting a man rape my son beginning at the age of 13. There have been unnecessary bathing with the children. There have been sexual contact between 2 of the children, and this all resulted in feelings of suicidal ideations, being withdrawn, and not having friends, being depressed, being anxious. And now the person sex trafficking my kids is threatening to kill my kids. She's already made good on threats, physical threats against me, and I've suffered great bodily harm from it, and I'm not sure why the county is not taking the death threats against my children seriously. And I just wanted to see if Lieutenant Singleton, if you could please help me and my children stop the sex trafficking. Supervisor Lee, he has all my contact information if you need it. My name is Ben Z. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you take.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, and as a reminder, California law prohibits the disclosure of information related to an investigation of a suspected child abuse or neglect. We are not authorized by law to speak to the specifics of any particular case, no matter how horrendous the allegations are. As a reminder, any suspected case or occurrence of child abuse or neglect should be reported to the hotline 1-833-SEC-KIDS or 1-833-722-5437. That is the Child Abuse Neglect Hotline. Thank you. And I turn now to the members of the commission for any questions to our presenters, discussion amongst each other. I see a light at the end there. Is your light on?
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, Supervisor Reyes?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was very helpful and very informative. And I'm hoping that we can make some connections between some of the vulnerabilities that you discussed with our children who are in the child welfare system or in the juvenile justice system, with some of the trends that you're seeing or that you shared so far. And I think in one of the, I'm trying to look for it, didn't have a flag on it, but I was wondering about the gender. It's the, oh gosh, I don't have numbers on mine, but it's the graph that shows the community assessment data snapshot trends, and it's a youth trends for juvenile arrests and citations. And do you have a breakdown? And I don't expect you to have a breakdown right in this moment, but maybe as a follow-up, give us a breakdown of what the genders are for those different crimes or citations.
Sorry, was that the end of your question?
What is one of
I
my
didn't mean to
questions?
cut
If
you
you
off.
can answer that one, and then I'll keep going.
I think I do have that information here. I'm just looking for it. Yes. So, so I know that is in the report. The thing about the data, the probation data that we shared, the unit of analysis is the arrest. It's not like the youth itself. And we have some information about the demographics related to the arrest data. Is that something we could email you?
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
And so then the other thing I was wondering if we put some of the information, cross-reference information of the trends, the exploitation numbers that you showed us in the beginning, if any of them would you be able to, and this is like the community assessment data snapshot trends, the Polaris hotline, and I think there was the majority of the violations were happening in our county, in our zip codes, 61 out of the 78. I wonder if you could cross-reference any of the kiddos that you found in your other statistic that had the infractions or the citations, to see if if they were victims of future, not future, but if they were victims and former either child welfare, involved in a child welfare case or in a juvenile justice system case, as well as if they were perpetrators. As we know, sometimes you become a perpetrator when you have been abused as a kid, and depending on the kind of violence, and you then also express violence in that. So is that something that you could share with us offline?
I would love to do that. I think that would involve additional research, and that would kind of relate back to the dual status youth area that we're interested in doing more research on. So, Sharon, what are your thoughts?
I think, since I am blunt, it would require funding and it would require access, because these were publicly available reports as it relates to youth. So we would probably want more information coming also from probation. We would be looking at a partnership with DFCS about their data, and a partnership with the probation department, which I think would be fantastic for future research to do a deeper dive.
I think you're just in the right nick of time, because we finished looking at some studies last week. It was last week. And I asked actually this question about those kiddos that were in the child welfare system that also then doubled up on the probation system. And one of the things that I had concern about is that there's not enough dually involved youth, because as you get older, there's less referrals coming in, or the abuse, or anyways, there may be less referrals coming in, not less abuse happening, but less referrals coming in, and so they don't qualify. Also, we weren't removing children from homes, and the reason why we are under a corrective action plan. The DFCS system is. And so anyways, I think it's a really good time for us to see if maybe what we can do is have all the systems line up, including probation. So I had this conversation with probation. So I think it's good timing. I don't know if there's anybody else that wanted to share something, but I think
I see Member
that's what I
Halkel.
thought.
I was going to say, you knew I was going to chime in on this one. First of all, I need to apologize to Lieutenant Singleton. I think I demoted you by calling you investigator. I've been out of the DA's office for a while, so my apologies, Lieutenant. I do think this is a really interesting area of research. It requires some access to some very sensitive data, obviously, with the intersection of DFCS and probation. So I'm wondering if this level of data analysis maybe should be better handled or in partnership with county departments that have access to this information and can partner with Evident Change to do the more in-depth analysis that you're requesting. Supervisor.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think we're all saying the same thing. And like I said, I shared this information. We just reviewed all kinds of studies last week. Just really having a little more in-depth look at who is in our DFCS systems, who have been there before. And, you know, one of the things that I'm also pushing for is for all the children that we didn't remove from the homes, that the abuse either stayed the same or augmented over time, that I think it would be interesting to see if those are the children that have fallen through our cracks and have ended up being part of these numbers here. And so anyways, to me, it's we know that there's this nexus, we just need to prove it, and so that all of our system understand how closely aligned abuse is to future crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ennis. I'm going to turn to Member Perla Flores.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your presentations, Sharon, Josh, Casey. I'm wondering, because this question is more for Casey and Carla, what is the path forward or the opportunity to discuss the recommendations that we submitted? The South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, our Advocacy Services Committee, conducted a gaps analysis and recommendations around what we project that we'll need in terms of additional staffing and then client assistance for survivors for the large sporting events, and not sure where that conversation goes next. And we are having also requests from surrounding counties. I mean, we through Voices, the regional collaborative, when connecting with several other counties that are asking us, where are we going to send identified survivors for emergency shelter or hotel? So would love to, maybe this is a conversation we take offline, but would love to have that conversation sooner rather than later, because I appreciate the situation that the county is in, the financial situation, and also you know, being able to tap into existing grants, have more flexibility around that, and I don't know that that's going to resolve the entire gap.
Thank you, Perla. I think this is a really important point. So I'm leaning more into gender-based violence, wearing former hats. So what I think the best idea to do would be to pull together a meeting. I've been working with DCE Compost and our IGR team. I think it'd be really good for us to hear and maybe review your gaps analysis and then formulate that into a specific ask for our Bay Area Host Committee. I do think that human trafficking and the need to respond is top of mind for several of our counties, and I know that the question has come up for them as well. So I think that would be the best opportunity, and happy to connect with you offline.
Thank you for that. I see your light on, Supervisor Ennis.
Yes, it just reminded me that before we left with measure, oh gosh, T or E, it has to be one or the other. But this is the housing one, and since Councilmember Ben Duan is here, and I hate to put you in this spot, but I wonder, since you asked the question, you brought up the question about housing, Perla, I wonder if we can figure out the funding that is connected to the measure that's supposed to be for survivors of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. to see if we can connect those two, because we have set aside that money as when I was there as a council member, we did this collectively with some of the agencies, and so I just wonder if we maybe can create that connection once again and recognize how many of our survivors are actually receiving some housing support through the city of San Jose. Is that something that you think we can work on, council member?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to collaborate with you and get a clear understanding of where that funding went and so on.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to add, we appreciate the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention, Carla particularly, and we have had preliminary conversations with the Office of Supportive Housing to try to figure out what are maybe existing properties that the county has that we can utilize, because we expect that there's going to be no hotel availability. So would love to figure out how we can work with the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention, OSH, Casey, your office as well, to figure a path forward, not just for the staffing, but the emergency housing and then long-term support. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Through the chair, if that's okay. Maybe we can have somebody from the City of San Jose's Housing Department come in at a future meeting and give us that follow-up if that's something that's appropriate, and we can talk about it offline. Council member, if as part of that follow-up.
I think we can have Eric Sullivan, who is Director of Housing, and come to the meeting, and then we'll take that offline for right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Supervisor Reyes, Member Duan, Member Flores, I think that's a very timely conversation to have, and I would also ask that we have that presentation or discussion brought back at the next meeting, which is tentatively scheduled for sometime in January, right before the Super Bowl. I think in one of the Bay Area Host Committee briefings I received that it's anticipated there'll be no vacancies in any hotel, motel, or tourist shelters or dwellings for 100-mile radius around the epicenter of sports. So that's going to be very worrisome, since that's the same supply that we access to house victims and survivors. So does that sound okay with our members here, that these conversations take place offline in preparation for continued discussion before the commission in January? Okay, all right. Member Duan, I'm going to assume that that's a head nod. Yes. All right. I'm looking to members for any other discussion or questions. Okay. Sharon?
I actually forgot an update that I meant to include as part of the regional kind of efforts, and it's a report back from the last commission meeting, because I didn't see DFCS here, but there was a recommendation for DFCS to organize trainings with the coalition and the Human Trafficking Task Force, and I just wanted to report back that that's in the works. Okay, DFCS is initiating a series of trainings to happen in January, which we're looking at expanding it beyond DFCS, so it would be available to different departments, including behavioral health, probation, and really any county departments that want to attend. It would include an overview of kind of indicators, what to look for, but also a little bit of nuance with the sporting events, and then what, in partnering with our point agency, will also be presenting on what services look like. So that's in motion. There was also a recommendation for training for foster parents, and so DFCS is looking at doing that maybe after the Super Bowl, just capacity issues, and again, looking at multidisciplinary training for that.
Thank you, Sharon. And as luck would have it, we have the chair of the Children, Seniors, and Families Committee on the commission. So I think, Supervisor Reyes, would you like to respond, or just provide any further direction or thoughts about how we can continue the conversations?
Perla, I'm happy to take this offline and work with you on this. Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, I just wanted to share that we're having a training on January 22nd. This is a regional training for confidential advocates and looking at best practices in crisis response and advocacy for large sporting events. And so that'll be part of the work that we're doing. So I'm trying to build capacity around for advocate in-person response. Although again, we do expect that a lot of the other counties are going to be looking to us for that, for either individual or multi-victim operations.
Supervisor, do you still have your light on?
Well, you know what? We do have a regional convening based on immigration later on this week, on Wednesday, we're happy to maybe make an announcement if that's okay with you, Chair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I'm going to turn to Member Silvertelb.
Yes, some years ago, I did a number of trainings to code enforcement and vector control, and I think it's time because they actually go into establishments. And actually, it always stuck in my mind that one of them said to me, "If only I had known what to do before," because someone came up to them, and it just continued to haunt them. So I think we should look at the county departments too that interface with the public.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to turn to Casey. She's nodding her head as this is a conversation we could pursue with our staff through the CEO division.
Yes, that would be my colleague, DCE Sylvia Gallegos, and I'm happy to connect Ruth with Sylvia.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Looking for lights. Don't want to miss anyone. I'm going to also turn to Member Green. Sorry to put you on the spot. Sorry, not sorry. That's what we're all here for, right?
It's okay.
Just make a request if VTA could continue working with the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking to identify more opportunities to forward the Safety for the Bay campaign.
Absolutely. That is our full intention. As you know, we've been a collaborative partner for some time now. And I could wax poetically about how much we've done with them just this year. Some groundbreaking work with respect to training, culminating in the Human Trafficking Conference. And we recognize throughout all of that interaction that it does not stop. We'll continue to work with them for this campaign and many in the future, we anticipate. So yes, I will add, though, that one of the constraints that we are continually facing, obviously, is funding. And that very effective campaigns require creativity that usually is rooting in enough resources to make them successful. And we'll continue to partner with them. As we come to the conclusion of one grant program that helped us facilitate a lot of the training that we've had already, we'll be exploring further opportunities and looking for the commission to support those endeavors as well when the time is right. So to answer your question, yes.
Thank you, Member
Okay.
Green, and VTA has been an incredible partner to this work. I see Supervisor Arenas leaning on the light. I'm going to call on you, and then afterwards, Member Silver.
I was just going to share that I did have this conversation with Carolyn and expressed how important those trainings were, and we saw how effective they are. And Elle, who is that trainer or leading that training with the bus drivers, was just phenomenal. They did a in real life scenario to anticipate how would a driver respond if they saw a human trafficking potential case. And I was just really amazed, one, that you had the kind of creativity to bring Elle in this fashion. And I think we need to have her come in and do a lot of these trainings with a lot of the folks that may not know how, and this is to your point, Ruth, a lot of folks may not know exactly how to respond, and I think it's better when it's safe in a safe environment and we practice and we figure out what can we actually say, what are we looking for, and what does that look like, right? And if somebody can actually pretend, I don't know, I think I would feel really a lot better going into next year, feeling that a lot of our county employees are covered. So I'm committed to having an additional conversation with Carolyn and requesting and anybody else who may want to pipe in and call her as well and put some pressure. Because there's always funding available for it is important. And I think this is absolutely necessary to do. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out and see if any of the other members want to also make that call.
Thank you, Supervisor Arenas. And I'll turn to, I promise Member Silver first, and then Member Silvertelb.
Sharon, I know that we've had an opportunity to meet several times offline, and you'd mentioned some trainings, and I'm not sure that I would request specialized training for the Public Defender Office, but if you could include us, if you're training other organizations, I think we'd certainly be interested in sharing it with the attorneys in our office. I think to Supervisor Arenas' point, we oftentimes see people who become entangled in the system actually have, have been prior victims. So please keep us in mind. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to say that I've been training, as you know, for the last 11 years, the new employees at VTA, and we have one coming up in January. I've also, I think, did a training, Casey, for the victim service, for the victim witness, right? And so it's really important because even attorneys have misperceptions of what trafficking is, especially labor trafficking, differentiating retaliatory remarks from actual trafficking. And just generally, there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think the media fosters that as well.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm looking for lights. Any additional discussion or comments? Good. Okay. Well, then I'm going to make an attempt here at an encompassing motion. I'm going to entertain a motion to receive, report, and forward the funding and resource gaps presented today in human trafficking response to the full board for consideration as part of both the mid-year and FY 2026-2027 budget processes as appropriate, with a recommendation that the board also direct the administration to seek opportunities to advocate for state and federal funding streams. So moved?
So moved.
So moved by Co-Chair Rosen. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Arenas. Great. And we're going to go to a roll call vote now.
Co-Chairperson Jung?
Yes.
Co-Chairperson Rosen?
Yes.
Member Rodriguez? Yes. Member Silver?
Yes.
Member Villa?
Yes.
Member Staff?
Yes.
Member Spears?
Yes.
Member Flores? Member Silvertope?
Yes.
Member Duan?
Yes.
Member Collins?
Yes.
Member Gilmore?
Yes.
Member Green?
Yes.
Member Moreno?
Yes.
Member Arenas?
Yes.
Member Yu?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Great. With that motion passed, now I get to turn to staff and our presenters today that this body doesn't direct you, but I would like to make an ask if you could support the legislative file that will go to the board as a result of this motion. I'm getting nods. I see yes, yes, yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. In addition to all the requests for further information collaboration that has been made today. Now we will go to item 6, and we received, item 6 is, lots of paper in front of me here. Item 6 is receive update from the Office of the Speaker of the Assembly, Robert Rivas, and we received word from the Office of Assembly Member Robert Rivas that they are not here, they're not able to present today. So I'm going to turn to my co-chairs if I can get your agreement to defer this report to the next Human Trafficking Commission meeting. Yeah, I see nods all the way around, and there's no need for a motion for that, right, Mary Hannah Weir? Sorry. Mary Elizabeth Hannah Weir. Mary, thank you. Great, and then now we're gonna, with that, we move to item 7, no, item 7. Item 7 is the consent calendar items. We're gonna move to now item 8, commissioner announcements. Any announcements from the members of the commission? Perla?
I just want to congratulate Ruth for receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award on Saturday from Human Agenda. And just well deserved.
Congratulations, Ruth.
Thank you. I believe there's a very low bar and that everyone in this room deserves that award. But I did want to say that over the weekend, I was at a Powys Christmas party, and I always enact business. So I spoke with Assembly Member Clara, and Sharon and I have been discussing a training for Airbnb, because now rather than residential trafficking. They're now going to an Airbnb, which makes sense in their evil mind because there's not as much oversight. And Clara was very interested, and he did the VTA, the transit training, and he's done other training bills. So if you run into him, please encourage him in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements from members of the commission? Councilmember Dwan?
Yes, thank you. On December 20th, we're going to give toys giveaway at the VACC right off of Lucretia. And any one of you want to donate toys, please give my office a call. We'll be more than happy to accept it and pass it along. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if need be, can we drop it off that day at the event too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, the answer was yes, absolutely, for our members of the public watching from home or office. Any more announcements? No, our co-chairs have, my announcements, our co-chairs have tentatively scheduled the next meeting, 2 meetings of the Human Trafficking Commission for Thursday, January 29th, 2026 from 2 to 4 p.m. and Thursday, April 16th, 2026 to 2 to 4 p.m. It's tentatively scheduled. You'll be receiving communication from staff to confirm your calendars for our meetings. And I would dare say that we are adjourning ahead of schedule after a year of 3 to 4 hour meetings. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work throughout the year. Thank you, presenters, staff, coalition partners, for being here and for your good work. See you, everybody, in January. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy New Year. Meeting adjourned.